Hello, friends. My name's Kennedy Puckett. Today we're going to be looking at a recent controversy with Drake and The Weeknd, an AI song that got produced, and then it gained 600,000 streams on Spotify before it was eventually taken down. So we're going to be discussing that, finally answering the question, are musicians under attack by AI? My opinion, I don't think so, but you'll see why in a second.
A few months ago, this fake Drake and Weeknd song went viral. It was made by an anonymous user called Ghostwriter977 using generative AI.
I was ready to play on the radio, and then I got a phone call from the label like, that's not a real Weeknd song. It fooled me.
So, DJ Enough has a lot of, obviously has a lot of interaction with the pop and hip hop community. And so, as such, would be very familiar with Drake and The Weeknd. So, the fact that he was fooled by the AI thing is pretty insane, to be honest with you.
We can generate an audio file. This would be Paul McCartney's data doing it.
A younger Paul.
Yeah.
So here's how those
I don't know if you've ever seen the stuff where the Beatles are apparently coming out with a new song with audio tracks that they pulled from Lennon's old recordings. I don't think AI was used to write any parts of the song. I think it was used to fill in the missing space with Lennon's vocals. In the early 2000s, You Know You're Right was released, and they did that by taking old audio tracks or demo tracks from when Kurt Cobain had recorded it at home, and some various, other projects here and there. And then they all just put it together in a studio, the Alive ones did, with instruments. And with that, you can see how there would be gaps, like missing spaces in between all the recordings, and sometimes it would be like a recording that you didn't necessarily like audio quality wise, but you didn't really have any other choice. So imagine if they had that technology back in the early 2000s and they could put all of Kurt Cobain's vocal tracks into the AI, type out the lyrics, and then have the AI voice sing it like that. And it would sound almost exactly like Kurt Cobain. And I think You Know You're Right would have been an even better song than it is now. It's, right now, one of my favorite songs ever. So I think that's the general idea as far as the Beatles song goes that's coming out eventually. I'm not really sure. I can't remember when they said they were going to post it. But that's also kind of what they are doing with this stuff. And it talks about vocal layering. I got about halfway through this video before I decided that I wanted to share it with people and see you guys' reaction.
Basically, you gather audio files of a celeb's voice from song recordings, interviews, stuff like that, and then put them into an AI model that maps out their voice. Those instructions are used to filter anyone's voice to sound like that celeb.
It's not a recreation of their original voice. It's a set of rules of how does his voice behave in this kind of situation.
Mark's a music professor at NYU and a practicing musician himself. All right, here's my normal voice. Hey y'all, it's Maya. I'm here with Mark, and we're learning about AI.
So I'm concerned with his wording because he makes a really good point. That it isn't really the artist's voice. So, when you hear that fake Drake song or the AI Drake song, no, it's a fake Drake song. But anyways, when you hear that, it sounds like Drake. I couldn't tell you that it wasn't Drake. And then I was like, I was listening to it, and I didn't think the lyrics were particularly good. I actually thought they sounded very poorly written. But then again, I think that a lot of modern lyrics are poorly written. So, to be honest with you, I could definitely see how you could sneak around the copyright aspect of everything. And as far as the lyrics go, I mean, I'm sure it'll get better at writing, or it won't. I don't know.
AI.
You'll send those over, and we'll try running them through a few models.
Cool.
Mickey model.
Oh, please use Donald
Hey,
Trump.
Yo, it's Maya. I'm here with Mark, and we're learning about AI.
That's pretty good.
That was pretty good.
That one's pretty good.
Of
It
course,
kinda
there
just
are
sounded
already
like her,
lots of
didn't it?
examples of this online. From Whitney Houston singing Beyonce,
Baby, I love you. You are my life.
to Frank Sinatra singing Lil Jon.
To the window, to the wall.
What are your thoughts
Oh,
on AI entering the music industry?
Those are really funny. Those videos where, or have you ever heard the Cartman from South Park singing Avenged Sevenfold songs? Ah, it's so funny.
So it's this amazing thing in terms of what it can map to and what it can create, but there's not clear guidelines yet as to when we get permission from people to use their voices and so on.
I classify it as a tool. I don't think that it will or can replace human creativity.
Elizabeth's a new media lawyer who's worked at the intersection of music and tech since the Napster era.
There's very limited legal precedent.
So there are a few legal issues at play here. One, is something made by AI even copyrightable? US law mandates some form of human creativity in order to copyright.
Yeah, I could totally see arguing though that the human effort that it takes to gather these audio files and then put them into the AI itself, and then of course you've got the mixing and everything, which I'm sure, I don't understand why we don't all just use AI mixing. I mean, the job of being a producer these days has been almost completely overwritten by AI. This whole thing where they're taking AI and putting the voice track through the AI to filter it out and make it sound like whoever's voice, it's a novelty to the highest degree. I mean, it's like electric cars, where it's like everybody's going to be talking about it like nonstop for the next 5 years. And then in 5 years, the next thing will come along and everybody will forget about it. Probably. I don't know. A lot of times when people say that, it's not actually how it goes. But what I do think you need to watch out for isn't the musicians, but it's the producers. Because it doesn't take nearly as much creativity to filter out bad sounding pieces of music within a set number of audio files as it does to write music itself. So AI could definitely take that over. Now, you have to be very logical, but that's something computers are known for being logical. And you have to like, it's a lot of work involved in it. But again, computers are known for being able to do a lot of work really quickly.
Thing. 2, you can't copyright a voice. That stuff falls under U.S. name and likeness laws, which vary state by state. And 3, there's a legal issue with the data used to train these models. If your model was trained on a bunch of copyrighted Drake songs, is that legal? And this stuff only applies to U.S. law. So what does that mean for a deceased artist?
Most of those contracts, especially for those artists that aren't around anymore, they didn't contemplate what we're talking about today.
Some of your favorite musicians are already using AI to collaborate with artists who've passed away. In May 2023, Timbaland previewed this song on his story featuring AI-generated vocals from the late Notorious B.I.G.
I always wanted to work with Big, and I never got a chance to. Until today, it came out right. Play.
Not a pimp, but I keep the trick up my sleeve.
I've been in the game for a while. I was the late great Notorious Biggie's
That sounded
DJ.
almost exactly
What do you think
like
Biggie would think about it?
I don't know, probably would freak out. The laws aren't there to protect the people yet. You don't have that right to make that money unless the estate sanctions it and says it's okay. That's it. That's just the way it is.
The laws still gotta catch up to the tech, but some artists are embracing it. Grimes has offered to share the royalties of any fan-generated song using her AI vocals. And Paul McCartney said AI was used to create one last Beatles record featuring John Lennon's vocals. It'll be released later this year.
We were able to take John's voice and get...
So here's what I do, all right? Legit ass, I'd let you do it. I'd let you take a bunch of auto files, right? Make an AI generator for my voice, vocal track thing, and then make music with it. And do it, and spread that music. Attach my name to it, Kennedy Puckett. And guess who gets all the fucking profit? I mean, you'll make the money from you'll make the money from actually putting the song out, but I'm the one who gets the recognition for it. And because it'll be my voice and people will remember it. You know, this is something that musicians always fight new marketing opportunities. And I don't understand why. Because you would think that you'd want your music to be popular. If you love making music so much, you should want to be able to do that for more people. The ultimate big brain IQ move is just to let people make music using their AI generated whatever of your voice. And then have that name recognition come back to you. And when people think, oh man, I really like the way Kennedy Puckett's voice sounds, I'll just keep listening and listening and listening. They're going to start following along with what you're doing and coming to your concerts and buying your merchandise. And hell, maybe you can even put out your own music or put out your own like covers of the AI thing. Make it a joke. Make it fun. Invite some of these people to collaborate with you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there are so many opportunities out there that you could use AI as a musician to better yourself. And it's like the fucking auto-tune thing. There's a reason why only one genre of music uses auto-tune. And there's also a reason that it's the most popular genre right now. It's because hip-hop, rap, all that crap, they're willing to change with the times. Us people in the folk and rock and roll community would not. I am. But, you know, whatever.
Pure through this AI, so that then we could mix the record as you would normally do.
But Mark says it's the background singers, demo artists, and instrumentalists, not the superstars who could be replaced by AI. And then there's the topic of appropriation, making a profit off of a trend, product, likeness, or practice from another culture and claiming it as your own.
It's going to introduce a whole other element to that conversation, right? Because there's so many places to hide here. If I generate a piece of AI content from someone...
No. If you were to say, all right, if you're going to bring up the appropriation thing, then literally no white artist should be allowed to make music if you're going to go with the appropriation thing. Because you know who made rock and roll? Black people. Black people made rock and roll. Does that mean that white people aren't allowed to play rock and roll? No. Jimi Hendrix, Rick James, Prince, all those guys were just as much rock and roll as Elvis Presley. Prince is, in my opinion, the greatest guitar player of all time. Does that mean that nobody can do a Purple Rain cover? No. Like, they're gonna... Race and sex and cultural issues and identity politics has invaded every section of every industry to this point where it's just annoying to talk about. 30 years ago, you could have had this conversation and maybe it would have gone somewhere.
The culture are very different from me. It's really not necessarily clear unless I go out of my way to say that I was the creator of it.
Tupac has a cult following, and his fans would probably love to continue to hear Pac. But if they know it's not Pac, they're not going to be happy about it. The true fans of Tupac will be like, that's not Pac. That's a machine.
Really important thing to remember about AI-generated music is that it's all based on being derivative. It's meant to replicate. And if you really think about the history of pop music, we always go through these periods of some new trend is started and then everyone wants to sound like that. In that way, it's a great moment to use AI for that second piece. But if you ever are the kind of creator that's like, I want to create a really new sound, a new cultural moment, it's going to be really hard for AI to do that. Like 10 years ago when that first big Lorde song came out, Royals, right? Like nothing like that sounded like that on the radio. If you had told AI, like, make the next hit, it...
Yeah. So the thing to remember with all of this is that it all comes from audio tracks that were taken out. Out from other people's voices. So you can't make anything original with it, really.
Would never have made that. I do imagine this is here to stay in terms of the convenience and everything we talked about, but in terms of the idea that I'm going to use this to make the next #1 song, I'm skeptical about that because historically we like those to be very new moments.
So, what I got out of this is that the world is a vampire, and despite all my rage, I am still just a rat in a cage. But also that AI in the future is probably going to be used more for, like they were talking about, background singers, backing tracks, instrumentals, that sort of thing. Things that you can kind of easily replicate in a studio. I mean, auto-tune, like, and in my opinion, I think that AI should be applied even more to auto-tune to allow for better mixing, and just kind of cut out the middleman as far as the majority of musicians go with, like, EQ stuff, you know? So mixing. One of the hardest parts of my job as a musician is mixing all my own stuff, because I can't afford a producer. You know, I can't afford to pay $150 a song on songs that I don't know if they're even going to make any money or not, because I'm a small creator. And if you're a musician, then you can't either. So, I mean, if you're a small musician, you probably can't either. So, get up, good boy. Yeah, so as much as I love producers, like Butch Walker is a major inspiration for me, and he's produced on a lot of different tracks for many popular, very popular artists. For a lot of us, it's just not economic to go and, you know, build this giant team around our music. I mean, I have to do all of the recording on my own, basically, because I can't afford $150 to $250 per song on songs that I don't even know if are going to make money or not, because I'm such a small creator. So I think AI is going to come in handy with that, and just like all this new technology has with social media, I say new technology, new as far as like 20 years ago, but as far as like social media and everything goes, that made it possible to be successful on your own independently, and AI is going to make it possible for you to make music, like good music, on your own independently without having to have a massive team around you. Despite that, I think teams are still very important, and I think that if you are a musician, you should establish a team when you have the money to do so. So I think you should use AI as a lead up to being able to afford all this stuff on your own. Anyways, guys, I think that's very interesting. I think the topic of AI is growing even more important as time goes on, as this technology rapidly expands. And I think the music industry is going to be affected, but I don't think it's going to be how we think it is. I don't think major artists are going to be replaced or lead singers are going to be replaced. I think it's going to be the mixing specialists and the producers and the background tracks or background vocals and instrumentals and all that. And I think the creative aspect will still be mostly human. But I don't know. You know, let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. I look forward to seeing your answers, and I will see you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye. Have a great day.